Howdy, folks. So before you is the Cybernetic, one of the more recent models from WE, which has been one of my favorite brands for the past couple of years. Today I'm going to do a little review on this one, as I just picked this up recently. But I'm also going to showcase some of the other WEs that I've picked up in the past year and talk about why they've really been one of my favorite brands. So getting into this one, this is a 4-inch blade, titanium frame lock, with a dark gray polished PVD coating. And for those of you who don't know, PVD stands for physical vapor deposition, which means that the way that it is applied is actually they put whatever parts they have usually in a vacuum chamber, and then they basically evaporate whatever the coating material is, and it deposits onto the parts. So that out of the way, I was saying 4-inch blade, 20 CV, titanium frame lock. You can notice that it does actually have a colored pivot collar. I don't think it's Timascus. Could be. Most likely it's just got one of those, storm anodized treatments on it. Some really cool looking back spacers. A little place back here for a lanyard, which is something I never do. Machine pocket clip with the WE logo machined in, which is a detail that I like. And you can see over here, very little branding on the blade. All I really have is way over here, really tiny, is the steel, 20 CV. And the serial number, I have number 99, kind of cool. So, one of the things that's probably the most noteworthy on this, on the positive side at least, is the action. It's really smooth. And this one is difficult to open. I'm going to say that right off the bat. So anyone who doesn't like front flippers will probably not like this. It does have this kind of odd, it's more like somewhere in between a front flipper and a top flipper, but it's pretty difficult to actuate. I can do it now, a little bit more difficult because I'm under the camera, so I don't really have room to work, but yes, it does flip open just fine. But it took me a couple of days to get used to that. So yes, so it's a front flipper. WE typically does ceramic bearings, ceramic detent. Part of the reason why their actions are so great. You can see it's perfectly centered. There's no blade play. As per typical, great fit and finish from WE. Cool blade shape. It's sort of like a Japanese style tanto. You can really see where there is an abrupt change in the geometry of the edge here, but there isn't a separate grind as you go across the primary bevel. So it's more of a Japanese style, and has this very cool additional facet that's machined into the blade. I think it looks really cool. Useful kind of blade. It's not the most utilitarian. The tip is definitely, it's not a trailing point, but it's up higher. But I mean, that does give you plenty of cutting edge. Pierces just fine. You can work this, cutting on a table. So it wouldn't be my favorite kind of blade for utility, but this will work just fine for typical EDC. The handle, as you can see, it looks very angular, but it feels pretty good in the hand. It has good ergonomics. They chamfered and rounded things off just right, so that despite the kind of angular design, it has no ergonomic issues. And the same goes for the pocket clip. It is a little pointy here, but it does not dig into my hand, at least. It's just placed well. I mentioned earlier it's a 4-inch blade. So for the sake of a size comparison, I want to say this actually feels smaller than it is. So PM2, you can see that it's significantly longer in the blade, although the handle is about the same size. And I'm looking at a smaller knife in comparison. So the CJRB Feldspar, which is just a 3-inch blade. So this is obviously much longer and larger than that. But it doesn't really feel like a big oversized knife. It's balanced. It's not too heavy. I'd say it's about 5 ounces. And the way the handle fits the hand, I mean, it feels more like a medium-sized knife in hand. So the fact that it's a 4-inch blade without really feeling like a really big folder is a positive in my opinion. Drop shut action, impressive. It's something I've noticed about WEs is that they lately, I mean, they've always had really good action, but the stuff that I've picked up from them in the past year all has kind of like they each have a unique feeling action on their own. And that's kind of in contrast to like Reat. A lot of the Reat models, the action feels very similar even when they come from different designers and they're different models. But with the WEs, it's like each action I get feels like it's coming almost like from a different brand. And I see that as a positive because it's kind of allowing the unique, I guess you could say, personality of each design to shine through. So I think I kind of skipped over in the beginning. This model initially came out last year from WE. I was not able to pick up the version I wanted, which was the polished uncoated version. I just wasn't as attracted to like the black coated versions in this case. So a couple months back, I saw, what was it, 2 months? I don't know. It was fairly recent. I saw these were coming out. So they did another release of these, limited in the dark PVD, and I thought it looked pretty cool. I had actually picked up a couple of other WE models with this finish, and I knew that I would like it. So for reference, just to know what this coating looks like, because sometimes it doesn't always become apparent on camera, I brought out the Spyderco earlier. So this is how it looks next to a stonewash. Okay, so it's a little bit darker than an uncoated blade, but how it looks next to a fully black coating, and this one is a matte finish, you can see it looks significantly different than a matte black coating. And it's relatively resistant to like smudges and fingerprints as well. You say I can get that there, but my hands are not completely clean. Wipes off easy though. And factory edge is also good. What is one thing to say about WE? Everything I've ever had from WE or Civivi has come with a great factory edge. They're consistent, they're even, they always clear the plunge. They do good work with their edges, and I'll show you when I bring out some of the other WE examples here. Always the same case. So this one, yeah, overall, highly recommendable, with the caveat that it is a little difficult to open, especially if you're not a fan of front flippers. So there's my short review on this one. You know, very cool looking, ergonomic, nice size, not too heavy, pretty unique. So thumbs up from me on this one. Now, like I was saying earlier, this has really been one of my favorite brands lately, so I want to bring out some of the other stuff I've picked up within the past year from them, because I think that it deserves some attention. So, the Hypersonic, or no, it's Hyperactive, I think, right? Yeah. This one had kind of a weird name. So, this is the first one I picked up that had this the same dark gray finish which is obviously done over a polish. So this one actually has this nice orange peeled handle with the lava carbon fiber inlay. Same pivot and pivot collar. Standout on this one though is the blade. And that finish actually looks even cooler on this one. So this one actually has a Vanax blade with a compound grind, which actually does nothing for functionality in this case. This is really just all about, I think they were just trying to make some kind of flagship type model that looked really cool and could show off what they can do. And I was all for it. The other variations they did on this I thought were a little weird in terms of like the color schemes, but perfect action, really. And also drop shut, very smooth. The drop shut is droppier than on the Cybernetic, but it actually feels a little bit smoother. Like there's even less, I guess you could say, friction or grittiness, you know, from the detent pull dragging along the blade as it closes. So another really cool model from them. And just like on this one, and you're going to see it's a common theme here, and one of the reasons that I love WE, see, no branding or billboarding on the blade. It looks very clean. So, I mean, as a collector, I aesthetically love that they do that. They keep the blades clean and free of all this crap that you're not really interested in. And again, here's your branding. So it's kind of subtle. It's not like printed on the blade in big letters. It's machined into the handle, which I think is just a really nice touch, you know, similar to how they just did it on the pocket clip over here. Continuing with the theme of the ones that have the this same finish and coating, the Solid, another model just like this one. When the original version came out last year, I wanted the polished, uncoated version, and they all sold out before I could get one. So a few months later, when they did this release in this finish, I had already picked this up and knew that I really liked how this this dark gray polish coating looked. So I said, that's the one I'm gonna get. And again, this one is also really special from them. The hyperactive in this, the GTC Solid, they were both priced higher than you typically see from WE, but there's reasons for that. Obviously, there's a lot of machining going on here. You have this compound ground blade, this integral titanium handle that it's flawless. I mean, kind of funky looking, yes. It's not the most standard practical kind of design, but super impressive in terms of like artistic design and just manufacturing execution. And not to mention the spring-loaded flipper tab from GTC. It works so well. This is one of the most fun folding knives to open and close, just because of how good that action is. It's so snappy. Oops, hit the table. And like the other two, it just has this great drop shut action. Also, did you notice how clean the blade is? This is the only branding that you'll see on it, right? So if you're looking at the presentation side, yes, you see the branding right there in the pivot. You know, I think it looks much nicer than having it plastered all over here in some, you know, printed ugliness. So again, this is just like, it's a piece of art. The Magnetron. They did a few models last year that had like these really cool kind of trailing or clip point styles. This one looks, I think that they call this a trailing point, but to me it looks a lot like a clip point. So this one does not have the coating, but I mean, just look at how clean and beautiful that blade is. It's a hand satin finish, so you have a vertical satin here on the flat, and then the grinds have a hand satin. no branding on there, so it just looks so super, like, it just looks clean. It doesn't look so cluttered. This one I don't even know if they have the blade steel printed. I know it's 20 CV, but the blade is what caught me on this one. That's just a good looking blade. Not to mention it's a great functional shape. You know, there's a nice acute tip, a lot of belly, going about your daily chores. This one actually works really nicely. Like this is like one of my favorite ones. If I just need to open up a bag of dog food, it's great. Nice finger choil, great jimping on this indentation for the thumb. Good ergos. Again, as like on the rest of them, perfect action, great fit and finish. The micro machining on the handle feels good and looks good. And again, there's all your branding right there. Just machined into the clip, fairly subtle. Part of keeping the aesthetic really clean. And the last one I picked up within the past year is the Zonda. Another really cool one, also very unique. Has this unique brushed finish that WE does on some of their models. And the first time I'd seen it in person was on this, and I loved it. Not to mention that the rest of the knife is just really cool. So it has this onlay with an inlay in it. It looks like almost like it's an integral, but you can see back here, you can actually see the seam where the two halves are joined. It's perfect up here. You can't even see the seam. And then the two halves are actually joined by this screw going in through the spine. And this is actually the first model I've ever seen that's constructed like that. You know, where the fastener is on this side. So that's pretty unique to me. And this is the first one I've ever seen with an inlay on the spine of the handle. That's not to say it's the only one that's ever done it, or the first that's ever done it. It's just the first one that I've seen. And I don't know, just design-wise, out of all of these, this one talks to me the most. It's also a 4-inch blade, so about the same size as this one. In fact, these are all pretty big. This is a 3.8 inch. I think this is 4 inch. This is 3 3/4. But that blade to me just looks cool. It's all super functional with the acute tip. Kind of a do-anything kind of design. Ergonomics are amazing on this. This one just really melts into my hand. And it feels so light too. This one it feels so light and controllable. Honestly, I think I would carry it more, except that it looks very aggressive. I try not to, you know, go out carrying very aggressive looking folders if possible, but really cool. Again, ergonomics are amazing, and very little, you know, printed on the blade. This side's completely clean. Here's your branding. Yeah, another really cool one. So, I mean, to sum all of that up, yes, I love WE knives. They've had a handful of other models released in the past year that I also just really wanted to get my hands on, but either because they sold out or I just didn't have the money, because obviously we all have that problem, I just wasn't able to pick them up. And I don't remember the names of all of them. I think there was one called the Nexusia. Yeah, I could probably make a list of at least another 5 or 6 that they've released in the past year that are still on my wish list. But yeah, great fit and finish, great action, great materials, just cool designs. The only thing I can't really comment on so much with them is, you know, steel performance. You know, I haven't really done much in terms of testing the edge retention on any of these. The only ones I've actually used are, I think, these 3, and they've seen very light use. But you know, they are using premium steel, so most likely they're going to do just fine in that regard. I highly recommend looking into WE if you've never tried one before. Again, you won't be disappointed in terms of the quality. So if you see one that looks cool to you in terms of design, I really recommend picking it up, because you'll be happy you did. They're just great additions to the collection. Yeah. Maybe in the future I'll do more detailed reviews on some of these other models, but for now, this guy. Ugh. Yeah. All right. Thanks for watching, everyone.